lifestyles be closed captions. Addicted to fatal attractions. Pictures and actions laid back in the midst of mashing. No fairy tales. This young black male. Some see me stranded in this land of hell. Jail and crack sale. Hustling hardly think the culture. Or the repercussions while busting on backstabbing vultures. Selling my soul for material wishes. Fast cars. Wishing I live my life a legend. Immortalized with pictures. Watch it.
To understand Tupac, you must understand the womb he occupied.
Tell me about being raised by a mother who is a Black Panther.
It was great to me because she taught me how to be more international instead of being local. And I did get some principles from her that'll always be with me. She taught me how to be community orientated. And I think my mother taught me to understand women a lot more than my peers can.
You're in touch with your feminine side?
I think so. I think so.
In the documentary Aftershock, a Black mother notes, a Black woman having a baby in the United States is like a Black man at a traffic stop. You have to pay attention every step of the way. Afeni Shakur lived this. As a member of the Panther 21, she recounted the New York Police Department's bossy unit, slamming into her bedroom, pressing her pregnant belly to the floor at gunpoint, and calling her a thug. This was Tupac's first introduction to the world. As researcher Ashley Turner notes, this kind of police brutality creates physiological dysregulation. The trauma loop wasn't just maternal. Tupac grew up under a generational siege, while both his mother and father figures, including his biological father, Billy Garland, and his stepfather, Mutulu Shakur, facing incarceration. Growing up without a consistent father figure, while witnessing the state dismantle his family, created a desperate longing for a masculine archetype. When the state is the entity that takes your father away, your relationship with authority becomes a permanent state of war. His revolving door of imprisonment and his 1993 shootout with off-duty police in Atlanta weren't just outbursts. They were the inevitable result of a child who saw the police as the kidnappers of his lineage. The National Library of Medicine reminds us that brain maturation ages between 10 and 24, and is governed by prenatal and postnatal insults and psychological stress. Tupac was basically an unfinished man. His neurocircuitry was still under construction while being bombarded by the hormones of survival.
If they ask you, you tell them. These my niggas, that's how we ruling this shit. We running, smoking blunts, pumping funk, and punking chumps. That's how we doing that shit. Fucking niggas up. Fucking niggas up real bad. 2 times quick in the 90s, and we drinking and smoking weed all the time. We high till I die, you know what I'm saying? We ain't stopping. Can't nobody fuck with us either.
Still down with DU and all that? Yep. And all the homies?
Yeah, we all rolling.
Y'all going on tour with Breed anytime this summer?
Yeah, we trying to hook up with Breed. We did this song called Gotta Get Mine. Because I do gotta get mine. So I could really relate to that song when we did it. We did a video for it.
Soon, right?
Hell yeah, that shit, that was coming out.
What was it filmed at?
It was filmed at Andre Rising House.
Okay.
In Atlanta.
Okay. We'd be in the house.
Thug life, y'all don't forget that shit. What type nigga is the thug life, nigga? Thug life nigga be the craziest!
Fresh out the box, baby.
The hate you gave little infants, UCK, everybody. Meaning, what you feed us as seeds grows and blows up in your face. That's thug life.
He didn't have the biological brakes to navigate the hypermasculine trap of the industry because his brain was stuck in a fight or flight loop since the womb. Anna Freiberger highlights how the 1965 Moynihan Report blamed quote-unquote assertive Black women for the emasculation of Black men. Tupac was caught in this vice. He was the son of a revolutionary woman, yet he lived in a culture that told him he needed to, quote-unquote, shut the woman up to be a real man. This wasn't ironic the way his fate would be. The 1993 Ayanna Jackson case is definitive collapse of this duality. While Tupac maintained his innocence in the act, we must address his passive participation. He admitted to Kevin Powell he was, quote-unquote, not innocent in the way I was acting. He placed the Black woman in a position of extreme vulnerability.
What happens next when you start to really, I guess, because you said you were somewhat out of it, when you start to kind of, get back into it, what do you do after you realize what just happened?
I was hysterical. I know Fuller was like, calm down, calm down. He's like, Ayanna, calm down, just relax, calm down. And I'm like, no. And I'm like, don't touch me. At that point, I'm pretty much in a compromised state where I'm nude, my clothes are ripped off. I'm feeling very much vulnerable, you know. I'm like, you know, and he's like, listen, go to the bathroom, get yourself together. And that room had a bathroom that was off to the side. I went to the bathroom and I kept telling him, I just want to go home. I just want to go home. And he's like, you can't leave. You can't leave until you calm down. We'll talk to Pac, you know, we'll relax and we'll mull everything over. And I was just like, I just want to go home. And I remember being in the bathroom and I was like, I just want to be alone. And he would not, Charles Fuller would not leave me alone in the bathroom. And I was just like, I was screaming at him and I was like, just get out, get out, get out. And he would not get out. And he was just like, listen, he was like, you know what happened to Mike Tyson? You know what's going on. Pac doesn't need that. I'm his manager. I need you to sit down. I need you to relax. I need you to be still. Okay? We're going to make this right. And I said, I don't give a fuck about anything. I want to go home and I want you to let me out. I was in there. I can't even, I don't even know the time, but I was in there for a while. And finally, he was like, okay, I'm going to let you go. I walked out of the bathroom. I went to the bedroom. I picked up my dress. I don't even remember. It was so long ago. I don't even remember if I had my shoes or one shoe, whatever. And I left out of the door of, let me think. It was so long ago. No. I picked up my shoes. No, I put on my dress. I picked up a shoe or one shoe, I believe, at that night. And then he said, Fuller came, he says, Pac wants to talk to you. And as I was putting my dress on in the bedroom that everything happened, and I said, he wants to talk to me. He says, yeah, he wants to talk to you. And I remember going into the suite, the living room that was in between. And he was laying, it was a couch. He was laying across the couch. He was laying there with his head back and his eyes closed. And he looked up at me and I looked at him. And then I said, how could you let this happen to me? And I was screaming, but I didn't say it in that demeanor, of course, at that time. I was screaming. And he looked at me, and he looked me dead in the eye. He says, get this bitch out of here. And Fuller took me. We went back to the room where it happened. And I went into the hallway of the Meridian. I walked down the hallway. And then when you come to the elevators, they had like a panel of mirrors. And I was just like thinking to myself, I just want to go home. This is like a horrible night. And as the elevator came down, the elevators opened and there were some gentlemen on the elevators. And they looked at me. At that point, my dress was ripped. I probably was looking crazy. And they looked at me and they were like, are you okay, miss? And I said, I'm okay. And they said, are you sure? And at that point, I started crying. And they looked at me. They looked at what I was wearing. And they said, did you come from? And I'm sorry, I can't remember. So long ago, I can't remember the room number. And they sat and they took me to another floor on the hotel, I guess, which was like a security floor. I don't know. And I sat down and I spoke with him.
To intervene in a gang rape. He participated in an institutional betrayal. He repeated the very trauma the police inflicted on his mother, facilitating a room where a Black woman had nowhere to run. Okay, so now I want to talk more about Tupac's lyrics.
When I was doing the movie Juice, and it was this story, it started out to be this big story about this family who died because they didn't have heat and they left the gas on. Everybody died except for this girl. She moved in with her cousins, second cousins. She started dating her second cousin. He got her pregnant. Nobody noticed she was pregnant. I was like, dang. And it was over a week, but the story kept getting smaller
smaller and smaller. And I was like, this is like very important. No black males talk about black females like we should. We need to take more responsibilities for our sisters, because if we don't, who will?
To understand the crisis of masculinity, we have to listen to the degradation of his lyrical intent. We have to look at the politics of care to the politics of vengeance. And so first I'm going to look at the song Keep Your Head Up that was produced in 1993. This is like a foundational song that a lot of people know. And I think the lyrics that really stand out and have people question Tupac is him saying, and since we all came from a woman, got our name from a woman, and I came from a woman, I wonder why we take from our women, why we rape our women, why do we hate our women? Here, Tupac is basically in like this Black Panther mode, or like honoring Black women. He is using his platform from intracommunal accountability. He is speaking directly to the intersectional failure Kimberly Crenshaw describes as challenging Black men to see that liberation is impossible if it excludes the safety of the Black woman. Next, I'm going to look at the lyrics in Dear Mama that was produced in 1995. And in these lyrics, he says, and even as a crack fiend, mama, you always was a Black queen, mama. In this moment, he is practicing radical empathy. He is acknowledging the allostatic load his mother carried. However, as Anna Freiberger notes, this still places the Black woman on a pedestal of quote unquote the suffering mother. And so those are generally some of the lyrics that Tupac has used to talk about like praising women. By the time we reach his final recordings, the under construction brain has been fully rewired by prison and the death row environment. The man who asks why we rape our women is now using the same tongue to verbally assault a Black woman. After the 1994 shooting and Tupac's prison sentence, Tupac reached a psychological breaking point. The wear and tear of chronic stress, his revolutionary love for like Black people seemed to curl into this paranoia. He sought a toxic brotherhood and death row records as a fantasy of protection and a surrogate for the father figure he never had. In his need for invincibility, he abandoned his morality to embrace a basically quote-unquote thug life that was actually his tomb. This is best seen in his brief marriage to Keisha Morris.
His ex-wife, Keisha Morris Shakur, says she saw another side to the man she married in jail after a year of dating. Keisha says it was like any other normal relationship.
We argued just like everyone else. You know, I would have to wake him up because he did not like to be woken up. You know, wake him up and get his clothes ready, then iron and prepare his breakfast.
And you wrecked a couple of his cars?
Yeah, I wrecked one car.
Yes, she wrecked his car. Then he bought her another BMW, a 5-carat diamond ring, and supported her financially. But Keisha says she maintained her independence.
I had a job throughout the whole relationship. You know, I've never just said, oh, well, you know, I have him, let me just quit, you know, and depend on him. No, it was never. Even if that was the case and he did want me to quit my job or anything like that, I would be so miserable.
Things began to change when Tupac went to jail for sexual assault. He would call her so he could phone other women. He was always flanked by women, as seen in this home video shot the night of his death in Las Vegas.
There's an excerpt where Tupac calls you, and then you hook up with Tupac, and then he calls another woman on your line. Is that true?
Yes, it's true.
And what did he say to the other woman?
I can't remember.
Was he involved with other women while he was also married to you?
I don't know what was going through his head, but all I know is that the next day, it was something totally different.
You're on the phone, and he says, hook me up with Mary or whatever the girl's name is. And he talks to this girl, and he says things to her, which he should only be saying to you. What do you say to Tupac during this conversation? And you're listening
I wish him luck. I wish him luck. I'm not going to force him to be with me or anything like that. If that's what he wanted, I support whatever he did.
Now, you got the marriage annulled. Was that your idea or Tupac's idea? And why did you have an annulment?
My lawyer said that it would be best for me because I was concerned with court cases and tax situations, so I just didn't want to be responsible for any of, being sued for anything.
So you were afraid of his mounting debt and...
I wouldn't say death, but I just didn't want to be responsible for anything that, that happened before me.
In prison, he sought the grounding of a Black woman, but the moment he signed to death row, The marriage dissolved. He traded the sanctuary of a wife for the armor of a rich and famous gangster. Seneca Vaught argues that once you lose the essence of your culture, you lose yourself. Tupac is the architect of duality.